What is up, guys? Let's talk about rock guitar and why rock guitar is dead. Basically, everybody around YouTube, everybody around the internet, again saying rock is dead, guitar is dead, and maybe they're right this time. And so this time I thought maybe it's time to trade in the guitars, and go full keyboards, start a nice dark synth band, something like that, something that's something that's more modern. May as well just keep going with the trends and going with what works, you know. I think maybe Kanye West needs a keyboard player. We'll see what happens. But anyway, regardless, is rock really dead or not? And yes, I'm gonna hold this keyboard the entire freaking time. First off, let's talk about violin. Violin is it was a very popular instrument back in the day, back when classical music was around. Is violin dead? Is classical music dead? I don't think so. I think classical music has become more of a niche, and I think that's where rock music is going. Rob Chapman talked a lot about this in his video on Is Rock Dead or Not? And I think rock is going the same way. It's becoming more niche, and we may see a revival again of rock music, or maybe even an evolution. But is rock ever going to die? I don't think it will die. It's never going to die. It will only become niche, if anything. And as far as rock guitar goes, I think rock guitar is the new violin. I think it has stood the test of time within the last 50, 60, 70 billion years, or however long guitar has been around. It is a great sound, and it is very difficult to emulate that sound, and I think rock guitar is going to be around for a long time, at least distorted guitars. And it's more or less going to be our generation's violin. Maybe there will be an instrument that overtakes what rock guitar was. Maybe there will be a new instrument that becomes massively adopted and we find a new type of music out there. Overall, I highly doubt that guitar is going to die off. Secondly, let's talk about the adoption curve. Nobody has talked about this yet, at least nobody I have seen, when it comes to is rock dead, this whole argument, whatever it is. I made a chart here that shows the adoption curve of what people generally think an adoption curve is and what it actually is. Okay. On the top here we have the adoption curve most people think is the adoption curve, where it's just a steady line up. Right here we have this side is the adoption itself, and right here are the years. So going this way, you know, 1960, 1970, 1980, 2000, whatever, it just keeps going up. People just think when things are adopted, they just keep going up slowly, that progress just keeps happening. More guitar heroes keep coming. More evolution of more evolution of rock music just keeps going. And that's somewhat true in a bit, but it doesn't, the progress does not, it does not stay steady for an infinite period of time. Right down here we have the real adoption curve, which is the exponential adoption curve, and this is where pretty much every invention known to man has used this curve. And we've seen this with the internet, we've seen this with cryptocurrency now, and we've seen this with computers, we've seen this with cars. You know, pretty much everything that has ever been adopted and invented, any technology, any new type of music, anything like that has used the exponential curve right here. And what this means is basically in the first couple years we see a massive adoption, and it just becomes adopted extremely fast. I would say if we were talking about rock music, this would be the 60s and 70s right here, where there's just a massive upswing for the adoption, and then maybe right here we would have like the 80s, and then the 90s, and then maybe 2000s. Okay, so we see a massive upswing right here for adoption, and then as it gets adopted and goes on, then it starts to stabilize out. Okay, so all of our guitar heroes were in this period here, and we're hitting a lot of points here, a lot of adoption, where guitar heroes just popped out of nowhere, and we've seen a lot more action in the rock idiom, more or less. And so the difference between this section right here, where it's massive adoption, and here there's less guitar heroes here, you know, it's stabilizing out a bit, there's less progress, and it's not natural to keep progressing like this, where you keep going up, where guitar heroes coming out faster, more progress in rock is coming out. It doesn't happen. That's not natural. That's weird. And so we've hit this point, I think, in rock music where it has stabilized, and we see less guitar heroes, we see less progress. We did so much stuff in the rock idiom that it's hard to go anywhere close when it comes to progress, more or less. People are trying their hardest, you know, to make the progress, to become guitar heroes, to do this stuff, but like the whole adoption has pooped out. We did almost everything we can in rock music. Not to say that the spirit of rock has to die in order to make any more progress, but we can keep going at it and keep enjoying the medium, and just have reasonable expectations when it comes down to it. Like, I don't think it's a bad thing to just enjoy where you're at and enjoy making the music you want to make at this period of time. We don't need revolutionary change in rock music. We just need to make good rock music, more or less. Now that we have adoption out of the way, let's talk about the new business model when it comes to becoming a rock star, becoming a guitar god, or whatever it is. And it all comes down to marketing. A lot of people think that marketing yourself and doing the YouTube thing and doing writing blogs, putting yourself out there and doing all of this external stuff besides only doing music is it's a very cold way to be a musician, and it's like you're not really being a musician because you can't 100% work on your craft, and you're not working 100% on the music itself. But the fact is that the business model has changed, and that if you want to truly be free and truly do the things you want to do, then you really need to start wearing the hats of what the label used to do, which was market yourself, create your image, really sell an audience on your music and on your whole persona, your whole personality. In order for you to stay independent and do the things you want to do, I think it's extremely important to just take on those responsibilities and start wearing all of those hats. Really try to find a way to do everything you can marketing wise and business wise, and become very savvy in those markets to keep your freedom the way you want it to be. The sad fact is the old model is still there, but it's very limited. And when I say limited, I mean you have to look a certain way, you have to appear a certain way, you have to have a good image, and you have to write, even if they let you write, you have to play songs that appeal to the label itself. You have to basically sell your soul, sell who you are as a person in order to really be signed and to make money for yourself as well as the label. And so I don't think this is a great route whatsoever for anybody. I think those days are, especially for rock music, are over. If you're a pop musician or a rapper or anything like that, go for it, you know. I separate those mediums with rock music because when it comes to radio-friendly music like pop and rap, those things are more for casual listeners, people who don't go out of their way to listen to music. They just pop on the radio and listen to it. But for rock and any type of music that really people get super deep into, more or less the stakes of the music industry instead of the McDonald's of the music industry, which pop music more or less is. It's just there to satisfy. It's not there to fulfill like the other types of music out there, the more niche types of music like jazz, classical, and even rock now. And I think those types of dinner type music, the steak type musics, are on the internet right now. Whether you go to YouTube or Bandcamp or just SoundCloud, anywhere you can find people creating music that you love. I also want to talk about how rock stars back in the day had much more freedom than rock stars now. Like I said earlier, if you want to be with a label, you have to look a certain way. You have to play a ghostwriter's music or write your own music that will be popular. The end of the story is that you need to make cash for the label. And if they are not making the cash, you're not going to exist as an artist. And you need to, if you are part of a label, you need to sell out as much as humanly possible in order to make that cash and to exist as an artist, especially in rock music. I think rock music back when the music industry was just beginning, going at full pace, when it was just all about recording music and selling albums, they had a lot more freedom to do what they wanted, to be who they were. And I think those times have really passed us now, and it's very difficult to be an artist, especially a signed artist, to be who you are and to create what you want to create. And I think at the same time, it's a great time to be an independent artist because you can create what you want and do what you want without a label and just be who you are instead of having to become a crutch and sell your soul to a company that does not care about you. I think entrepreneurship and musicianship go hand in hand when it comes to today's age. And I think that's something you really need to start grasping and accepting, along with investments on the side. There are some people out there who only think that you should make money selling your music and that you should solely focus on making the music itself. And I think this is a very idealistic way of thinking, and I don't think this really coincides too well with the marketing business aspect and more or less reality itself. The fact is, the business model has changed. If you're making money off of your music, that's great. But if you make more money using your music as a promotional good, then do that. When it comes to entrepreneurship, you should follow the money more or less. And it is a very difficult thing for people who have never really ventured into the entrepreneurship marketing aspect to learn these types of things, because a lot of these things are more or less counterintuitive. And really, when it comes to any type of success in life, you need to do what works for you. And that's why success is so difficult, because a lot of people think that they can follow a certain path that somebody else has followed, and that they can just as easily achieve success. But success is never like that. It's never a straight road. It's very much all problem solving. You have to solve your own problems. You have to accept your own faults. You have to accept your limitations and find ways around it. It's a very difficult thing. I like to think of success as a big bundle of cords in a box, like a whole bunch of lights inside of a box, and you're trying to untangle them one by one. And you're not going to untangle them all at the same time. You need to sit down there and really put the effort in and look at one cord at a time and just untangle it. And that's what success is like. It's very nose to the grindstone type thing, and you really need to find your own answers that will work for you. And this is a very difficult answer to accept for a lot of people. They think it's easy. It's not easy. It's very difficult. And one thing you'll realize in life, the older you get, maybe you won't realize this, but for me personally, I find that the harder something is, the more fulfilling I find it. It's not so much the success, but it's the way getting there. It's finding the small things that work for the small problems you have that will get you where you want to be. And that's extremely enjoyable for me. And I have more fun doing that than I have just achieving big things, you know? A lot of times when you achieve something that you've only dreamed of, you try to find more ways to improve on that thing, just because the journey is so much more enjoyable. That's a great belief system to have when you're a musician, as alongside venturing into entrepreneurship as well as investing. You want as many streams of income as humanly possible when it comes to becoming free in general. Not so much as a musician, but as a human being. If you want freedom, you don't want to work 9 to 5, you don't want to be controlled by somebody else. Get as many income streams as humanly possible. Lastly, let's end this thing. I want you to hit the subscribe button if you like this video or you want to see more stuff like this, or hit the like button if you like the video, or not like it, you know, you can do that too, I guess. And you can hit the notification bell and to get the notifications, and that's about it. So, and feel free to download my free dark wave rock instrumental album, The Milk Thistles, coming out next September. It's gonna be fantastic.